Good morning. Welcome to day 12 of the 14-day ReThink Weight Loss Challenge. It's been wonderful to be with you. It's Saturday. Happy Saturday. Excited for the weekend. I'm Dr. Ginny, and I love to help people learn how to eat, think, and live slender so they can reclaim and regain great health and vitality. And yesterday I led participants on a guided visualization so they could really see themselves eating healthy and achieving the healthy, slender, active body that they want to have. So you learned how visualization is a way of practicing in your mind the actions that you want to be successfully taking on a daily basis that will get you the results that you want. So it's really powerful, and I wonder how many of you made a commitment that you're going to do this visualization every day for a while, because that's where it'll really start to change your brain. Today we're tackling another limiting belief that stops so many people from succeeding with healthy weight loss. And this belief tends to sound something like, it just doesn't work for me. My body just won't release the excess weight. I'm different, I'm unique, I have this health condition, or I have these genetics in my family, or I don't like this kind of food, so I can't do what people recommend. So all these things make it extra difficult for me to release excess weight. And this limiting belief is so discouraging, right? Even as I hear myself say it, I feel like it's just going to keep you from even getting started. Hi, Holly. It's good to see you here from Florida. So that limiting belief will really keep us from even getting started, and it really will cause us suffering and misery and hold back our lives in so many ways. And in this way, it could really hold us back from eating healthy, from living a really full life, from living in the slender, active body that can move the way we want it to move. So, and I think that thinking of ourselves as uniquely unable to do something, or uniquely weak, or uniquely problematic is really causing us undue suffering. Like anytime we catch ourselves with a belief like that, we should really nip it in the bud, really work it out, because it's a really devastating kind of belief. Whatever problem we've ever tried to overcome, or we've ever faced, or we ever will face, has been faced by someone else who's gotten through it, right? That's one of the reasons we love heroes' journey stories, because somebody faced a challenge like we face, or maybe it was a different challenge, but just you can hear how hard it was, and you hear that the person, fought it until they overcame it, and you feel like, that's so inspiring, I want that in my life. So with the healthy eating and weight loss thing, you have this opportunity to fight through something and win over it. And I'm going to talk today about how you can make this be a different experience. So let's use some of the skills we've been learning through this challenge to work on this belief of, I'm different, my body just won't let me release excess weight. So remember we asked questions. So the first question is it true? Is it true that my body won't let me lose weight? Is it true that my body can't lose weight? Well, here's one thing I would say about that. Anytime we say we give in to I can't, it's true. I can't because I'm not even going to try. So let's take the next question. Let's ask a good question here. What would be a good question to ask of this idea that my body just won't let me lose weight? I think a good question could be something like, what do I need to do differently so that my body will release the excess weight? And that's really what I'm going to talk about today, is what you can do differently this time. And I'm going to talk about this in the last couple of sessions. What can you really do differently this time that will give you a very different experience, that will give you success finally, so that your body will be cooperating with you in this weight loss journey? So when you ask yourself, what can I do differently this time? You're assuming there is something you can do differently this time, and that changes your brain. It sends you searching for solutions. When you say to yourself, why won't my body let me lose weight? You search for answers to why it won't, and proving. That's exactly how these limiting beliefs get stronger. We search for the answer to why is this true, and it's not actually true, but we make it true in our heads by searching for proof, right? So assume you can do it differently this time, and that the differences that you're going to use this time are going to make a difference. And based on all of these years of experience that I have with this, I'm going to give you 4 answers to what you can do differently. So the first one is make healthy eating a priority. Take it from a wish or a want. I wish I could lose weight. I wish I could get into my slender body again. I wish I could wear, these cute jeans in my closet. Change it from a wish or a want to a must. So this happened for me because I was, I wasn't able to walk very well anymore, and I felt really sick, and I felt really unattractive, and felt like my life was the future of my life was just shrinking. And so when I went to the doctor and I got blood tests that said I was pre-diabetic, so I was developing insulin resistance, which went along with how I felt. I felt terrible. I felt lousy. My brain wasn't working very well. My body wasn't working very well. And then I started seeing patients in nursing homes, and I saw people in their 60s and 70s and, a lot younger than I thought. And it was I started realizing a good 85% of these people were in there due to lifestyle issues that if they had realized this is ruining their health, they could have changed it earlier. But now, they're in diapers and having to have people change them, and they just don't have very bright futures at all. And I thought, I can see myself here in the next 5 to 10 years if I don't change something. And I felt like I'd been trying to change things. I'd been trying diets. I'd been trying this and trying that, but things weren't working for me at all. So I had to make a change. So it became a must for me. Like, I don't care what it takes. I am going to study this. I'm going to figure this out. I'm a smart person. Other people have done it. I can do it. When I made that change from a I wish I could to a I must, then everything changed for me, right? Then I was going to do it, and as long as it took. I was going to keep working at it. I was going to figure it out, and I was going to do whatever it took. So, it was a I must do this or I'm going to die kind of feeling. Not everybody that starts on a successful weight loss journey has to feel that severe about it, but you do have to make it a priority. It can't be next week I'm going to start releasing excess weight. I'm going to make this change. It's going to be really fast, and it's going to be really fun and really easy. In a lot of ways, it can be more fun and easy than you think, but only once you really make it a priority and you're really going to make a change. I want to welcome Monica. It's great to see you here. Saturday, getting some people I haven't seen during the week. That's wonderful. So a little more about making this a priority. There's this concept in Buddhism called Ichinen Sansen, and it means 30,000 life moments in a single life moment. And this is very inspiring to me. Let's see if it's inspiring to you. But the idea is that whatever, difficult karmic thing you've been dealing with in your life, not being able to find the right partner, or, struggling with your health or struggling with your weights, I think all of us have something in our lives that's just like, why is this a perennial problem for me? Why, maybe it's financial, but it's like, always a struggle. Well, even those constant struggle things in our lives can change in one single life moment. And the idea, we talk about having ichinen, like just developing this kind of feeling like, I'm doing this. I don't care. I don't care how hard it is. This is what I'm doing because it's important. And that's what I did with healthy eating and weight loss. And once I really had the right start on the right footing, then I was on the path. And I never veered from the path after that. So you can change your state. Tony Robbins talks about, and you see this research now about if you change what your body's doing, it changes how you feel. It gives you some courage and some energy you can use. So I have one that I do every morning, and it's basically go like this. And it changes my feeling going into whatever I'm facing that day. Like I do that before breakfast, I do that with my morning prayers, and it helps get me into a really confident, energized state to start the day. Then, if I get to dinner and I'm feeling like, I'm so hungry, I've got to make something really quick, but it's got to stay on my plan because this is a priority to me, then sometimes I'll do that too. Okay, I can do it. I can make dinner without falling apart and eating something I don't want to eat. So I invite you to do that right now. Try that stance. Here's other great stances. But it feels good. It really does change your brain chemistry. So we will take every little trick like that we can get, right? I will. Yeah. I love anything that will help me change my state in a particular moment. So another thing about making this a priority is know what your big why is. What's the big motivation, the big reason that you're doing this? So for me, I just felt like my future was shrinking and I was looking forward to a really sad, slow, rapidly aging and declining health kind of future. And I wanted to look forward to this bright future again where I could still have fun and still date and still be out there, not necessarily running, but walking my dog in the park. I have a really great park across from my house. So I had this vision of what I wanted, and I didn't know if I could achieve it, but I knew that I was looking forward to a really sad future if I didn't make these changes. So get clear what your big reason is. One of my clients, it's partly so that she'll be around and healthy for her daughters because with the excess weight, she's having heart issues at this point, and she's really concerned about it. So maybe you're worried about your health or dying too soon or just seeing your future shrinking, or you just aren't able to do the things you want to be able to do in life. Maybe you're determined that you're not leaving your husband or your wife or your children in the next 5 years because of excess weight and illness. And it can help to let yourself feel the pain of those worries. Emotion will tell your brain, this is important, this is a priority, and that's part of what we're trying to do. And then after you get into the pain place, you can go back to the, we can do this feeling. So decide you're doing this, cut off all other options. This is what I'm doing. I am changing my health from now on. I'm eating healthy because I deserve the health that will give me. Failure is not an option. I'm looking for, I think I had a Yoda quote here, but maybe it's coming in a little bit. What Yoda said about this was, do or not do, there is no try. And I knew I loved him at that moment. There's just times in our life when it's important enough that we need to have that kind of determination and attitude. So when you become really determined about this, you're going to win this time no matter what. Everything changes. You become indomitable. And it can feel like the whole universe is lined up behind you, supporting you. I really like that image. And sometimes when it's something important to me like this, I will draw that image around me like, okay, the universe is like, okay, let's go. We're behind you. We've got your back, whatever you need. Sometimes you need those kind of images. So you could put that in your visualization. So the first one is really, it's going to be different this time because you're really going to make it a priority in a way that you haven't. No other options. Failure's not an option. You're determined. It's a priority. The second one is to manage expectations. So there's some interesting truths about expectations. And one is we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in the short run, and we tend to underestimate what we can accomplish in the long run. And I find this all the time with people that I work with on weight loss. They tend to feel, like, oh, this should go really fast. The weight should start dropping off right away, and I should start feeling great right away. And that's not always exactly how it goes. I talked about in an earlier training this week, I think it was, that lots of times at first, when you start releasing excess weight, you feel crummy because your body's been holding on to toxins in fat to protect you for some time. And now that fat is starting to release, then also these toxins are starting to release. So you can feel a little bit lousy at first. If you start eating a lot more fruits and vegetables, which your body really needs to get the nutrition from those foods, really benefits and heals with those foods. At first, your stomach can feel overly full. You can have a bit more gas than you're used to, or even constipation, which is kind of a weird thing when you're eating a whole bunch more fiber. But at first, your gut has to kind of adapt to this change in eating, and it can be a little bit uncomfortable. And your body isn't necessarily going to release a lot of excess weight really rapidly. It's kind of gonna watch and see what's happening. Is there a danger here? So we tend to overestimate what can happen in the short term. What happens with that overestimating is we can say, it's not working, I give up. This is one place where a coach can really help and where tracking can really help, because if you look at the facts, you can see you are releasing excess weight. It's just not always as dramatic or as fast as you want. But here's the good news too, is a lot of the people I work with underestimate what they can accomplish in the long run. So like me, I felt like, okay, I think 150 pounds is a reasonable weight for me. It's not like an ideal weight, but it gets me into a much better BMI, body mass index. And I definitely feel better in clothes. I like being in a size 10 a lot better than a size 16. So I'll aim for 150 pounds. But once I started eating really healthy and I got to 150 pounds, I just flew past that. So a lot of people that I work with find that same thing, is you can get to a much more slender weight than you realize once you're really eating healthy in a consistent way. And this, yeah, we tend to expect too much change in the early days and not enough lots of times in the long run. So first, let's recognize that getting all the way to your slender right-sized body in a way you can sustain for good, it's a kind of big, complex goal, and it's achieved in steps. And so it's myriad small actions that you take that add up to the big results. And getting clear about those steps and getting committed to those steps in spite of moments of doubt is really important. So that's why you really want to manage expectations. Some of us might wish that our weight loss would go really fast, like it would be an instant pill kind of thing in a way. But if you really think about it, first of all, your body can't do that. It's not healthy. It won't work. People do that all the time. They do some kind of fast weight loss, and all the time they gain it back, which I find just so heartbreaking and so frustrating for them. So then we've also heard that weight loss of 2 pounds a week is really reasonable and healthy, but some people do a little more than that. Some people do a little less than that. It's really what your body thinks is a good idea, basically. So it's you and your body working things out together. Yeah. I think that's expectations. So the first thing is make it really a priority. The second thing is manage your expectations. The third thing is you need to follow an effective eating approach, which most of the diets being offered out there are not effective eating approaches, and they're not going to work for you. You know, the calorie cutting approaches, I have a family member right now who's doing the keto diet. These approaches can be effective for losing weight, but it's not healthy and it's not sustainable. There's a whole lot of things out there, calorie cutting approaches. Your body doesn't like calorie cutting approaches. Your body says, this is dangerous. You know, we're in trouble. And it starts holding on to excess. It starts holding on to the calories coming in as fat. It starts slowing down your metabolism, and it starts triggering you to eat more. So calorie cutting approaches fail pretty much every time. And all the conflicting information out there means that people are trying this huge random assortment of different things. You're trying this and that all the time and not doing anything effective with consistency. You know, it's interesting. I did some projects for the federal government for a while. They were investing in grant funds for projects that would use evidence-based practices. So I was one of the evaluators for evidence-based practices. And one of the most interesting pieces of research that came out was it didn't matter almost what approach you were using, as long as you were using an approach that had some consistency to it, some clarity to it. So that's the other part of this. Use an effective approach, an effective eating approach that will allow your body to release excess weight in a healthy way, in a sustainable way, and use it faithfully. Don't kind of tweak it all the time trying to do different things. That will really lead to poor results. So approach any changes to your plan with the discipline of a researcher. Let's see, I'm going to change one thing for a period of time, and I'm going to watch that. I'm going to see what happens. Because if you change 5 things at once, something happens. You don't know which change led to that thing, right? So, you know, get a real clear approach and then follow it for a while. Susan Pierce Thompson has 4 bright lines that she recommends her followers stick to religiously. And one thing she's found with her research is really interesting, which is she asks her followers to rate how well they followed each of the 4 lines, like every day, on a 4-part scale. So the maximum score you can get is 16, right? She has found that people are able to release their excess weight and keep the weight off if they score a 15 or a 16 consistently. As soon as they go down to 14, so they're just changing 2 of those lines a little bit, they start to fail. They start to regain the weight. So she finds that people have to follow those 4 bright lines quite consistently without fail, maybe with one minor exception. And more exceptions than that, and they tend to be back on the road to eating with abandon and regaining the excess weight. So it's really important to follow one approach that works and to follow it pretty faithfully. And the 4th piece of advice that I want to give you, just checking the time there, is about enough, is give it enough time and attention for it to be successful. It can't be an changing your eating can't be an afterthought. It really takes some time and attention for a while, and it needs to be enough time and attention for you to be successful. You need to get enough support to succeed. One of the things that I found in observing another weight loss community is if people didn't get enough support, even if they had a really great eating plan, a lot of them tended to start failing. They tended to start falling back to their old habits because our old habits have been around with us for a very long time, and we're very comfortable with them, and it's very easy to go back to them. So if you get enough support for changing your habits, that can make all the difference. And work enough on changing mindsets and adapting your environment so that you can be successful with changing your eating habits this time. There's a number of steps to becoming slender for good, and they all need to work together. You need time to learn to eat differently and to find ways to make breakfast, lunch, and dinner work for you. You need time to make those work for you so that you love what you eat at each meal. And it can take a while to figure that out if you're eating different foods. We need time to develop insight about what quantities work for weight loss. And we need time to realize that every bite counts, that, the things that maybe we thought didn't count. I used to sometimes think the chips that they would bring, chips and salsa at the beginning of the meal, didn't count. It wasn't counted in my meal, which is interesting because that's a high calorie food. It's a very addictive, keep eating kind of food. So it's kind of a weird idea to think that it wouldn't count. Also, by the time you get your meal, you often wouldn't feel hungry anymore. Same thing with bringing bread at the beginning of a dinner, right? These are foods that really count. They really have calories. And so we need time to recognize what quantities of food count because we've been overeating for a long time. We need time to change habits. We need time to change our eating habits and our mealtime habits and our shopping habits and our food preparation and our food storage habits. All these kinds of habits that support being very successful, they take some time to develop. We need time to develop new ways of handling temptations. And we need time for these habits to become automatic so we don't have to think about them all the time. Because frankly, your eating habits can't require that you think about them all the time. That's just not how eating works. So we really need time to develop really good habits and to let them become very automatic so that they're very effortless. We don't have to think about them all the time. We can really enjoy the way we eat again. It's amazing. So it's a lot of change. And I have found that for a lot of people, within 6 to 12 months, they can really find the habits working. They can really build these habits. It's enough time for that. And the fundamentals of eating slenderfully, eating slender for good, can become automatic and habitual over this period of time. Some people more time, some people less. But it takes some time. It doesn't happen in the first month that these habits become automatic and easy. So to summarize today's lesson, the belief it won't work for me is a limiting belief that is designed to discourage you and to keep you from going for it and to maintain the status quo. But other people have done it, and you can do it too. Instead of going along with this belief, question it. Ask yourself, what do I need to do differently this time to succeed? Make healthy eating a priority, a must instead of a should, and be indomitable about it. I'm doing this no matter what, no matter what. Make healthy eating a priority and manage expectations. So you want to see what's working. You want to see that it's working, but give your body a chance. Give it some time for it to work. Your body has reasons to hold on to weight for a while until it figures out what's going on. So work to hold reasonable expectations, especially about short-term results. At the same time, don't hold yourself to such conservative goals for the long term. You may be able to get into your truly slender, right-sized body when you start eating really, really healthy and really slenderfully. And then use an effective eating approach and be faithful to it. Follow that one approach faithfully instead of trying a whole bunch of different things. Constantly tweaking your approach is a recipe for failure, and following one effective approach is a recipe for success. Give it enough time and get enough support. So those are my summaries about that. I want you to have 100% success this time with your next healthy eating and weight loss journey. So are you starting to see how that can happen, how this can be a completely different weight loss journey for you? We have only 2 days left in the 14-day challenge, and I'm already starting to feel like I'm going to miss you. The 2 days are next Monday and Tuesday because we take Sunday off. So we'll tie things together these last 2 days, and we'll really take these things from concept to action. So I want to know, are you ready to get into action? We'll be talking about next steps for you, and I'll share more about the Slender for Good program and how that can help. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and eat some really nutritious foods and do some power stances and change your state, and have a great weekend. And I'll see you Monday. Thanks for coming. Love you.